What is up, guys? In this video, we're going to go over every single one of these trades because we are in a very choppy, low volatility environment. And I want to show you guys, because this is part of the courses. This is going in the course module. This is advanced price action stuff. This is like adjustments for volatility, I guess you could say. So this is how we make adjustments, or at least I make adjustments during volatility shifts. So this week has been challenging. The first, on Monday, I was down. Tuesday, we came back. And what I notice is, I'm kind of getting in the trades a little bit too early. There's too much churn. And now as the week has dragged on the higher time frame, it's pretty clear we're sideways. And what's happening right now is the VIX is at a 15. And I don't think the VIX is very important for you guys to look at. If you don't know what that is, that's the volatility index. So a 15 VIX generally means ES's volatility will be very low, meaning the average rotations, the average movement is very tight. Another way to check volatility is to look at a 3-second chart if you have Jigsaw trading, which, by the way, you can save $30 on Jigsaw if you're interested. Link in the description. If you have the Auction Vista on Jigsaw or a 3-second chart in general, I prefer the Auction Vista because of how it cuts up the bars per tick. If the average rotation is like 2 ticks to 4 ticks every minute or two, which it's been about 2 ticks, like you'll see the ES get stuck in a 2-tick area for like 30 seconds to a minute, that tells me that the volatility is extraordinarily low. So I can just look at the bars to know that. Now, you could probably see it on a 30-second chart or minute as well. Just easier to see on a smaller time frame. I've talked about this in other videos. So the volatility is excruciatingly low. And what happens is the market is barely moving, and it spends most of the time barely moving. So what happens is you get into a trade and you're just sitting there and nothing is happening. Like, I talked about this on Monday, and this is actually going to be another video I haven't made yet called Pocket Pool. When that's up, go check that one out. What I noticed on Monday is like the average, like I was getting in the great entries, but I was not getting more than 4 ticks. Like the trades would not move more than 4 ticks in my favor. And I've experienced this before. It's just like we happen to come from really good trading to just like the brakes are being halted because the market has gone up so much. As the market goes up higher and higher, closer to all-time highs, the VIX drops. Therefore, the volatility drops. When the market is dumping and shitting, the volatility index goes up. So you'll see 20s or 25s when the market is dumping. So volatility goes up when the market is absolutely shitting like day after day. And if the market is just ripping up on a bull run or whatever, the volatility starts to drop. Now, can it happen when it's lower with a lower volatility? Absolutely. And I think it depends on the day. So going back to what I was saying is like, you can get into great trades, but the problem is it's just going to turn against you. So why not just let the trade breathe? I don't think that's necessarily a good idea, because what happens is you'll get these blowouts where it will run really quick a few points, or it'll drift away from you and never come back. And it just keeps going and going against you. So if I normally risk 12 ticks, which I think is really viable if the volatility is extremely high, or it depends on the setup, to be honest with you. But in this specific environment where it spends most of the time barely moving and it's sitting on the same 4 prices for like minutes on minutes on minutes, 10 minutes in the same tight range or whatever, you just run the risk of getting blown out. So you could, in theory, trade less size and then run a normal amount of risk. But I don't think that's a good idea. What I like to do is I don't want to be too early. So now in this environment, I want to wait longer to execute. And this is sort of a summertime strategy too, because in the summertime, the volatility gets really low as well. Leading into Christmas, it'll do this as well. You know, we're going into Thanksgiving. The holidays are upon us. So, you know, October and January were my best months ever, and that's because the volatility was there. Well, 90% of the time you make 10% of the money. Or, sorry, 10% of the time you make 90% of the money. 10% of the time you make 90% of the money. This is an old adage that I've heard, and it really rings true after sitting here for all the years. Now, in the 90% of the time where you're not making most of the money, you need to learn how to survive. Okay? And learning how to make these adjustments, I think, is extraordinarily important. So I want to be more patient because market conditions dictate P&L. You're not going to come into this industry or this job thinking you're going to make $500 a day, $100 a day, $200 a day, $1,000 a day. This isn't that type of job. This is a you make what you make type job. Okay? And just you need to get that shit out of your head where you think I'm going to make X amount per day. That's not the job to do that. That's not how it works. If you've ever sold real estate, been a realtor, or worked restaurants, you really don't know what you're going to get. You can kind of guesstimate, but even then, I don't think that's a good idea to do in this specific job. And a lot of people can't handle that, and that's pressure. And this is why when you do make a shitload of money, you just don't go fucking spending the shit and get that Lamborghini payment because you had a few good months or a year. The thing is, it's going to go down like this, and you know, I guess the P&L is impressive for what it is, but look at the size that we're pushing, and notice how, like, I really did size down quite a bit instead of just hitting like 12 lots a lot like I did in October, because it's just too easy to get blown out on the back end. So the market sits there and it churns and churns, and you're barely making shit. And if you actually look at the MFE, that's how many ticks it goes against, or goes in your favor while in the trade, and the MAE is how many ticks it goes against. Notice how I actually sized up on the last trade because I knew what it was. And again, as we review this, I'm going to explain why I did that. So, you know, look at on the upside. Most of these trades went, you know, we had a 2-tick, 4-tick, 3-tick, 3-tick, 9. That's kind of an outsider, 2 ticks, 7 ticks. So you're looking about that 4-tick area. That's as good as it gets, really, in this type of environment. So what I'm really doing is I'm not trying to pick up 4 ticks. I'm probing for momentum. So I'm probing the trade to make sure I can get an instant run. However, when I do get those runs, depending on how quick they are, if they're like super flashy and quick, yeah, that would be great. And eventually we got it on the last trade. And I kind of knew that was going to happen. So we're going to fully narrate all of this shit. So I'm probing for almost instantaneous momentum. And if you look at the trades, look at the time. 1 minute in, 57 seconds, 36 seconds, a minute 43, which ends up becoming a break even, a minute 14, 23 seconds, a minute 34, then a 5 minute and 15 second trade. So I'm really not willing to hang out long. So what's going on is I have time decay going on in my head. So this is why I think it's important to learn how to trade on a DOM, how to read order flow on a DOM or feel it, because you don't necessarily just read it as much as you feel it. It's kind of both. And this is where the importance of being a scalper comes into play. When we have really high volatility environments, I'm going to scalp more. When we have super low volatility environments, I'm going to scalp more. Both of those are really hard to deal with. I have a video called Sweet Spot. There's a part 1 and a part 2. Go watch those, especially the part 2, because I talk about how there's these two extreme spectrums. And when you're on the extreme spectrum of high volatility, I think it gets a lot harder. And then when there's like this sweet spot in the middle, and then when it's really low, it gets harder. And I think both of those conditions are almost exactly the same. I think high volatility and low volatility almost are exactly the same, and they should be treated almost the same, which I know seems kind of weird. Now, they both have their own little nuances, and if I ever get to the point where there's really high volatility, like obscenely high, we'll make a video and put it in the playlist here next to this video so you can see the difference in the future, whenever that may be. So I don't want to fuck around and find out. I want to be in this thing, and it goes back to being a scalper. My pedigree is scalping. Now, there are times where I'm going to be able to hit and hold trades in this environment. That will happen. That will exist. However, due to what's happened in the prep, which I'm going to share a snippet from the prep session that's on my coffee. So watch that real quick. So here we go.
Yes, 10-minute. It's in a fucked spot on the ES. I think they need to flush the bottom deal out. I think they need to flush this out, but they mid-pivot it, and it's so hard to say where it is now. I think it's going to just be choppier and fuck. I think we could chop for a few days, guys. Even NQ is kind of near the low. This should let go, in my opinion. I would think, but not always. It's really hard to say. I have no fucking clue. I think the shit needs hours and hours of chopping. That's what I think. I think it needs hours of chopping. I don't think there's really gonna... Tomorrow may not be a day to really be trading. We'll see. Alright, guys, that's just kind of where I'm sitting on this thing. See ya.
So as you can see in the prep, I mentioned something about how I don't think there's going to be any trades tomorrow, which there eventually are trades, and they're way late in the day, like the last hour. I sat here for hours and just like nothing was setting up the way I needed it to set up. So, you know, it was not setting up the way I needed it to fucking set up. Let's go back. So as things were not setting up the way that I needed them to, I had to just continue to wait. And I mentioned in the prep, you know, we're in a really choppy, weird area. Like, it just, like, the setup doesn't seem like it's there. We're in a choppy, fucking fucked up area, and I just don't think it's going to set up the way we need it to set up. The thing is, I knew in the prep session that the next session, the one you're seeing, would suck or be really difficult because of just how it looks on the charts, how everything's setting up. Because now we're like in these areas where you have quite a bit of ranging. So let me actually pull up some charts so we can actually look at this shit real quick. So this is currently where my charts are. This is how things are prepped as of now. And this has been about 2 days of sideways price action. So I will move it to where you can see it. This is also the 3-year point of control. Watch my gap video if you want to know more about the 3-year profile. That is the 3-year point of control, so it's snapping around it and being tight just makes sense. And this point of control actually moved. It used to be like way the fuck down here, and as of like it used to be here, right in this region. So it was here, then it moved up somewhere's in here, I believe, and then it's moved again. So it makes sense it's going to churn and chop here because it's the most popular price in the last 3 years. But also the way the market is moving, the way the order flow is coming in. We did come up a lot. Like the CPI moved 168 ticks instantaneously. Like literally there was no drama. So if we go to the 30-second chart right here, and this is me getting nitty gritty and nerdy about all this shit. Notice how it's like one bar in a matter of like 2 minutes, because each bar is 30 seconds. So literally in like virtually 1 minute, the market went 164 fucking ticks, which is telling me there was absolutely no offers and barely any order flow came in. So that's bizarre and unusual. And because of that riff, I think that's why we're seeing this like, really tight, choppy market where it's barely moving, because what happened there where the market just ripped up like that in my opinion, it's caused a disturbance in the order flow. Typically, something like that gets reclaimed. I don't know if they're going to do it. They might do it. But because of what's happened, the reason the volatility has completely died makes sense, because a lot of adjustments need to be made because of that. Because that is very unusual for something to just rip 164 ticks in a minute on virtually no order flow. And this was before the RTH session, so a lot of the RTH traders weren't able to move size around to take advantage of this, nor did it ever get reclaimed yet. So there's a lot of adjustments being made by very large traders. So therefore it's getting stuck, and it's getting unusually stuck because of the lack of liquidity. I've talked about this in other videos. So going back to what I'm saying is, like, I want to be probing these things, and I want to be getting out really quickly because, again, you may not get more than 4 ticks. 4 ticks is maybe all she's good for. And I want to keep probing until I get what I need. And I'm also, at the same time, I'm padding my P&L up, so that way if something really good comes across my screen, a really, really good setup, I'll more likely be able to hit it with size, A, with more size, and B, I'm willing to let it breathe a little bit more, and if I got a paper cut into that, I will. However, this is not an environment where you want to paper cut trades, meaning I'm taking small losses. This is the type of environment, if you do paper cut on the loss side, you're going to bleed out very badly, and you're not going to recoup it, because if you're down 12 ticks, it's going to take a lot to get that back. And you can't sit there thinking you're going to get it back on one trade, because that just may not happen. That in this environment, you need to be more aggressive. And when I say you, me, I'm referring to myself and anybody trying to trade my system. So I want to be more aggressive on, like, attempting to get out of these fucking things, instead of just fucking around and finding out. This is a type of environment where trades will come back on top of you. And the moment you get a momentum pop or something, it's best to be scaling out and shit. So, and again, I want to be waiting more. And it's just the opportunity is not going to be there as often as it has in October. So a lot of people are struggling right now. A lot of people are frustrated. But that's the thing. If you trade in the summertime, it's the same thing. You just aren't aware, and you need to make that adjustment. And if you don't review and study your trading, you wouldn't know what that is and how to make the adjustment. Because this is adjustment time. So I'm glad we're seeing this, and also the setups aren't there. The setups aren't going to be as frequent, and I explained why I think this order flow is kind of kooky. Now, it can get like this because of other reasons, not just CPI doing what it did. There's just times where it moves like this on the DOM, and being able to identify this in the DOM is really key, in my opinion. So without further delay, let's go ahead and look at this thing. So we're going to go to the coffee because both of these episodes are narrated and they're on here. Here's a prep for tonight. So what we're going to do is look at both of these. These are going to be the November 16th, 2023. So if you want to watch these during the session and hear the narration and thinking during the session, feel free. Otherwise, this is going to be a review of all that stuff. So just so you guys know, that those of you who decide to purchase the coffee because it's the best deal on the internet as far as exclusive trading content goes, like, you're just, for the price, you're not getting, I mean, there's like 60 fucking 8 hours of narrations at this point in time. So it's such a good fucking deal. It's crazy. Like, you know what I mean? For the price. So just so you guys know, all the trades, for the most part, are timestamped roughly 30 seconds before. So if you go to the timestamps in all of these narration videos, you can watch the trade. Like, you can click on the timestamps and you can go to each and every trade, and it's roughly 30 seconds before the trade is put on. So if you don't have the time to watch an hour-long video or a 2-hour session, I try to stream them. I try to record them right before it trades, so that way it's not just like hours and hours of just nothing. And I try to narrate the entire time. So this happened to just be an 11-minute part 1 is just 11 minutes. However, you can go to the timestamps and just watch the trades. So that's what's cool about this coffee as well, which you like, and it's a good idea. You know, it's just a good idea. It's just great for you. It's convenient for you, and it just, so if you're on a time crunch, you can do that. So anyways, let's look at it. I'm gonna listen to this. I do want to. I'm listening to music in the background. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it on 2x speed. I think that's a great way to review your DOM. So why are we going long here? So what you're going to be noticing is I'm going to be going long in a lot of the same area. So what I'm going to do is like get rid of me. And I'm going to zoom in so that way you guys can take a look and we can just kind of like talk about what's happening here. So looking at Russell right here, Russell's been in a range for the most part and it's top ticking. It's not as high as this, but it's top ticking, and there's a video on top tick, so go check that out. It is top ticking. So, but it's also at the same time breaking out right here, and you know, is it top ticking? Is it going to break out? That is an EV4 right here. This low node is an EV4. There will be a future module on low nodes if it's not already out, so look for that if this has been some time ago. However, the bulk of this profile is breaking out for the most part. Now, it could be top ticking. However, we are breaking out, so we are in low node areas, RTH. So if I'm going to be leaning long, I'd rather be leaning long when Russell is not down here. I'd rather be, even though it may not be that good, I want to be leaning long because of it being way out on the outer edge. The outer edge is just going to be better to play. So let's go ahead and look at NQ. NQ right here is interesting because this is a this profile's been going on for some time, well into the overnight. You have a major low node here, which is a 19, but I dash it because it's being abused. And when a low node is being abused, it's a good idea to dash it. However, I don't want to like get rid of it completely because that is now sort of a support and resistance area. So that could be played in the future. And if we come through this area again, there's a good chance it's going to blow through and keep going. So I want to keep that there. Now there's this, now it's kind of like looking at a 10-minute, NQ is actually compressing up. So let me pull a 10-minute chart so you can see that. So here's a 10-minute of NQ, and near the close, she was going pretty sideways yesterday, and then she opened like that. But you can see how she's compressing up and shit. Never put in a real top tick. There's a V flush down here, and again, in the top tick video, I explain why I would want to be long biased because of what this is doing. Also, another interesting thing happened during the session that I noticed was this. So see this right here, this wick down here, it's hitting the value area low. So it's bouncing that as well, which is also interesting in my opinion. So it's like, okay, there could be a clean rotation of this. And then as the session goes on, I want to play the outer edge of it. So let's go back to what we were looking at. So before we do that, Tarukin is inspecting the charts here to make sure that everything is according to planned. Thank you, Tarukin, for that. So anyways, let's zoom back in. So this is ultra zoomed in. So this is it pivoting the value area low here that you saw. So there was a bigger move down. And now we're at the very upper echelon. So I do believe there's going to be a top tick. And again, I'd rather be playing on these big meaty curves that have been going on for all day or a few days. I really want to be on the edges of those. I really don't want to be dicking around in the middle. Let's look at NQ now, or ES, I'm sorry. So looking at ES, this 3-year POC. However, ES, this is the intraday curve. There's an EV3 or 4 area right here. Maybe it'll go in it, maybe it won't. I don't know. However, we're kind of like there's a dotted line here. You can probably barely see. We're above that, and I want us to spin about 10 minutes above this, and this yellow line is my 10-minute marker. So what I do is I put it on the clock, and I'm like, okay, are we above or below this red line, which is the RTH low node? And this is a lot of low node strategy. So just so you guys know that a lot of what I'm sharing with you, you're going to have to come back to this video once you understand the system as a whole. You're going to have to watch this course, all these course modules multiple times, and it's best to come back to these modules like every few months to wrap your head around it, because there is no good place to start the course. You could start anywhere. I mean, there are some places you should start. However, a lot of concepts and shit I'm explaining in this are videos that may have not come out yet, or videos you may have not watched yet. And you may need to watch this, go watch those, then come back to this to really understand it. So this is my 10-minute marker. Once we hit this section, I want to make sure there's acceptance. Now, acceptance is, are we above or below an area? So if more than 50% of the chopping is above or below a line, then it's accepting it or it's not accepting it. I really want to see about 70% of the chopping above this red line for it to be accepting to go long. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and watch all of this. So, we want to be paying more attention to the DOM. A lot of these arrows are going to be kind of the key low nodes intraday that I want to be paying attention to. So we're about 5 minutes or so into accepting this area. So I'm like, so we go for a scalp here, and I'm going to be honest that I don't think this was a good idea. I think I should have waited a little bit longer, and I think this is the first and only loss. And this is 2 times speed, so this is really stuck right here. So she's barely dropping, only 3 lots come in down here. And see how it's just getting stuck right here. This is dog shit volatility. Now, so I see what I'm doing. So it's about 5 minutes in. I'm like, all right, so it's probably going to get stuck here for the full 10 minutes. So I should get a scalp low. But I'm a little too, like, I take way too long to actually get out of this. So I go for the 2 ticks, but now I'm not able to get out of it because there is no order flow. There is no order flow coming in. So we try for a tick, and we're not getting any order flow to get us out. Try to get a break even. Now it's too late. So we take a loss because we are just too slow. So this is like an example of like, I need to be fucking aggressive at getting out of this. So let's go to trade 2. So as you can see right here, it's not quite at the 10-minute mark. So I say, you know, we're fighting the bulk of the mean. It can go down. That means we're fighting most of the profile. Like there's a big curve below us that could honestly pull the fucking thing down. Like if the volatility is really low, you're getting a lot of mean reversions into these things. So now we're here on that red line. It is accepting above it. So we give it a shot again because it is going below the low node, and you know, also NQ is well below that red line. And then we are still top ticking in Russell, which let me move my head so you can just see that. So we are definitely top ticking here. And I do believe that at this point it's going to dump in a bit. Because I do want to be a little more weighted to the short side at this point in time. So we get into it. So you can see she's barely going. So I go, once Russell gets to this low node, I want to get out of it. So I go, I'm looking for maybe a point. We go for a point. See how bad it's struggling to get me out? So look how bad it's struggling to get us out. So we lost 300. We're up 400. We're up, so total $100 at this point. Let's continue to look at these. I'm going to pull up part 2. Okay, here's part 2. So if we really zoom in on this thing, you can see, like, I'm like, I can't trade this anymore. I'm going to have to step out. So this is where we were originally fighting. You can see that it drifted down a lot. Now we're like under here, and it's been 10 minutes, but I was waiting for it to get above, and now it's been about 20 minutes. So this line is marking another 10-minute period. So this area up here is about 20 fucking minutes. So let's look at how I do this. So also, Russell, by the way, let me get rid of myself. Not going to zoom in, but Russell is starting to be above this low node with a clean pivot, which is good. So it might want to take that top tick out, which is good. NQ is flirting with the value area high as well, which could be a move down. So we're waiting. We don't want to be in at 15. Oh, let's actually, we need to fix all this because it looks like shit. Something happened to where it looks like shit. So we don't want to be in under 15. We want to be above it because it's a psych price. So we're looking to short this thing. So I go, why is there a POC right here? So I realize that the high node intraday, because this profile is more than intraday on NQ. Intraday, there's a POC here on 73. So I'm like, I want to be short above it, not below it. I want mean advantage. So I'm like, I don't like that. I should have went short. I'm a little too fucking late at this point. See, it's just, we got to get out of it. I'm like, all right, fuck, I missed it. Because I was like narrating. I'm like, I'm a little late. I don't like that. And I just missed it because I wasn't fully engaged with the markets. Let's put this back on 2x speed. Get in. I go just a scalp. And I go, it's 10 minutes. We're under the red line. Again, well under the value area high on NQ. And then we have mean advantage NQ. What does that mean? The bulk of the profile, like the curves, are below me. See how it's low noted here and low noted here? Most of the profile is below me. The meat of the profile, I want to always be trying to go in that. Now, there's a time when I want to break out of it. However, in this context, I want to go into it. And then Russell, most of it is below it. It's kind of in the middle, though. There's a low node here, and then there's a low node here. So there's a micro curve here. So I go, this stall is not good. You can... So I take 3 because we go below the mean here, and it could just instantly snap up. And we're below the high node here, and those could just pull it up. So that's probably as good as it's going to get for me. Again, I'm probing for momentum. Now watch, it might actually go up right here. See how... Oh, never mind. So, I was going to say, watch, it might go up. Also, on these micro ranges here, let me show you behind my head. See these micro ranges? If I'm getting in near the high, which I should be, I want to like pretty much pull near the low of it. However, the way NQ is setting up and the way ES is setting up, I believe that because of all the prior price action and narration of things, I think, again, we're going to have a move up. Even with Russell being as high as it is, and it's not really flushing, and it hit that low node I showed you. So normally I'd be willing to try to run some of the size further down. However, I want to be out at the bottom of these micro ranges because I think there's a a push up overall. Now, if I was really short biased up here, which I'm not, I'd be willing to actually leave more on. Let's go to the next trade. So this is way in the future now. Again, this is really behind my head. Let's move me. This is really been up here for like 30 minutes, close to 30 minutes or some shit. But notice it's under the red line. So it's not accepting above it. It's mostly in the bulk of the body. NQ is mostly under. So as time goes on, that range is becoming more and more powerful, meaning it's more and more and more magnetic. Now, I know there is a time where it could blow out randomly. However, since another 10 minutes is on the clock, I'm looking to actually short this thing. So I'm talking about how I missed a trade. So I missed a trade. So it flushed up, and I remember this. I go, oh, fuck, I missed it. And it was going to be up here near the 1750s. However, at this point, I'm pretty convinced that we're going to run to 1125 way down here. But I go down to 4 lots because I'm getting in way later. And if this pulls back up to 1750, I'm willing to put another 4 on. It'll drag my break even up. And then I'll be in at the best spot with more size. However, since this is a late entry, I want to hit it with less size. However, at this point in time, again, here, I'll show you this. Let's actually go back. If you look behind my head, there's actually a top tick here. It's lower than most of these bars. Now, it's not an official top tick, but it's a top tick here of these other bars. So it's kind of a micro top tick. So I'm also leaning on that. And again, it being completely under that red line, 100%, really short bias. So now we're willing to, we're getting in late. So we're going to put in less size. So we let it pull up. And we're above 15, which is good. So I say, since it's been up here for 20 minutes, I want to hold to the POC. And I say, now, will I hold it to the POC? Probably not. Again, I'm probing for momentum, like time decay. I really need this to fucking go. Barely order flow is coming in. And what I'm doing is I'm manually clearing these orders. I'm constantly hitting my mouse and I'm spam clearing. And the reason I do that, there will be a module on it most likely in the future. If this is really old, then it might be out. But this is going to be one of the more last modules. It really isn't a priority module in my opinion. However, I want to talk about it just briefly. So I'm manually clearing those order flows and I'm snapshotting because any market orders that come in are old market orders. And they're really kind of useless. Like they don't matter. So I want to see how rapidly they're coming in. Am I seeing a lot of sellers or am I seeing a lot of buyers? Am I seeing barely any buyers, barely any sellers? So right here it went 90 by 115. So there's big buyers, but there's big sellers. But now the buyers are reloading. A 48 lot just hit. So you had a 115 lot. Now it could be broken up. It could be a bunch of 10 lots or whatever. However, in the moment from when I cleared it, it's 114 lots. Then when I cleared it, a 48 lots came in. Now, is it a full 48 like on a time and sales? No. So the sellers are being aggressive here, but the buyers are reloading. Then they dump it in on just 13. Then they dump it in on 11. So the bids here were weak. But now they're pushing it back up. And now they're aggressively selling, but buyers are starting to dig in. So we're looking to attempt to get out. We can't get out because here's the thing, and I also know this just from this like scalping technique. There's times where if you're not quick and you're not pulling the motherfucker, you can try to hit each tick on the limit order as it goes up and you will not get out. So now I have to make a decision. Now it's ripping up way too fast. And now I probably won't even be able to get in a limit order and actually get fucking filled because of how much it just jumped. It's kind of micro slipping, which I have a video on slipping and reclaiming. So this is sort of micro slipping. And I told you guys that, you know, you're going to have to watch a lot of this shit multiple times. So, you know, it's 1 by 1, no lots, a 9 lot heavier sells. Now they just swept that. There's a big buyer and a big buyer swept multiple shits. So we got to really make a decision here at this point. So they're buying and they're barely selling. So I go, we're just going to go for a break even at this point. And what you're seeing here, again, this is like, I would have, like, this is something I just, from years and years and years and years of just looking at a DOM, is something that I just can't, like, explain. You got to feel it. You got to understand it. There's all this micro nuance going on and the order flow that this is all its own module. However, again, I need to be quick. Let's look at the next trade. Okay, so now what she's starting to do here, and we'll go ahead and zoom in on the fucking thing. So, you know, she did her little top tick. We traded that, which we just saw. Then she top ticked again. But now she's, and this is why you got to watch the top tick video, guys, to understand this fucking video. So, so she's top tick up here. Now, it's compressing. Notice how you could draw a trend line and it's kind of a wedge. And again, NQ is compressing on the higher time frame as well. And then again, Russell at this point, like, let's go down the Russell so you can get a little bit of context on what's happening with Russell. Russell is chopping, and I would say the value area high is about here. This profile is not accurately depicting it because I'm measuring a bunch of shit back there. But let's scroll over a little bit. So the bulk of the curve is here. I would argue to say the value area high of all of this is right near this red line, which happens to be a low node. So you're having multiple factors of support. So that low node is a little more rigid. And she's chopping up here. So this is seeing this and it chopping up there for maybe 30 minutes at this point is a sign that Russell might be breaking out to the top side. What do you think about that, Womack? Don't you just love how they fucking go scroll through this shit? So this is when I think there could be a breakout on Russell. Now, I believe she does dump in. Again, higher time frame shit matters. We're not, and that's the thing. It's like, I'm not scalping to pick up a fucking tick or two. No, there is a higher time frame shit at play here, guys. There's a lot of thought process and a lot of waiting to get into this fucking shit. Like, if we look at the P&L, look at the entry times. So you have, like, between the top two trades, you have what? That's only about 3 minutes. And then you have quite some time, 251 and 207. Then you have 10 minutes, and then you have 3 minutes, and then you have 13 minutes, then you have 2 minutes, and then you have, I can't do the math, but between the last trade and the other. So there's definitely waiting. It's not like this overly aggressive trading. So there's definitely waiting going on. So again, we need to zoom in here. So now we're drifting up here, you know, and this is my 10-minute time frame. you know, the line has got moved. So there was a line there. I moved it because the low node that I was originally leaning on isn't good anymore. And since this is starting to compress up, I will be looking for a long at some point. Let's just, I don't remember if this is a shorter or what. But I believe in this certain circumstance, I might be somewhat short bias. I'm not quite sure. Let's take a look. So I think there could be a rotation on Russell where it could go up. Yeah, it is a short, which I think was a good call. They're fast flushing. Again, we're well under that line. And again, this range is 30 minutes. And again, it's going to keep pulling in. And also, I have mean advantage. Again, the bulk of the curve is below us. The bulk of the curve is below us here. I mean, it could... Russell's kind of in a volcano top where it could get stuck between the two. Bulk of the curve is below us. So I say this better drop immediately. Because at this point, I do think it could push up. I do think there is a chance that this could be setting up for a push up. So I'm going to be a lot more aggressive. So we take half off very quickly for a tick. I go, it's just churning here and it's just taking way too long. So we get out of it for a tick. It's just taking way too long. This specific trade needs to work immediately. And the fact that it's stalling there is not good. Like, in order to scalp, like, especially momentum scalping, you need momentum. And if the momentum's not following up immediately almost, then you're going to have to make a decision to get the fuck out. And this is where you can't really have the case of the freezies, where you sit there and freeze up and get these brain freezes and just sit there and make no decisions and just don't do anything. A lot of traders, I think all of us suffer from getting frozen at some point. And you can't do that. You absolutely cannot do it, especially in this type of trading. You got to make the decision, and if it ain't working, it ain't working. We got to get out. What's good, though, is we're padding the P&L. We're building a buffer for a legit trade, which we're going to see soon. All right, she's starting to drift up. So I'm looking to get back into this thing. So she's pushing up quite a bit. So we're going short here because these are key low nodes. And notice how all these arrows are like sort of in the same area. Since all three DOMs are aligned, these low noded areas are pretty much aligned that I'm going to go for the short. And again, I do believe she's going to flush in because she's flushing up really quickly. So it kind of went a little further against me, that since it did go about 3-4 ticks against me, I could be at the bottom of a new micro range. So I want to get out really aggressively at this point. Now, if it works really quickly, then if it like didn't really go against me, then I could get maybe the 4 ticks on the bottom. So I'm taking size off. So there we go. Now she's dropping. So I say I really need this to dump in far. So I took 4 off, took 2. Now we're taking 2, and I'm willing to get a point. Because again, I do think this might be breaking out. And Russell is on a key low node to where that could cycle up. But we don't have the 10 minutes of acceptance up here. But I do want to revert back into these means somewhat. So they're reloaded. So they are selling quite a bit, but now they're buying. They're selling. Let's see how. Good selling. So the way I see the order flow come in, I'm like, well, I could probably wait. So the snapshotting is really how I really read this shit. Now it's 9 by 1. clear it. 1 by 4, 134 by 41. But it's staying offer, so they're reloading. 23. They're not selling. It's all like one lots. They're really buying. Even though they're reloading, they're buying, and that's not good. Good sell, but then they reload here. 7 lot come in, 38. Good. 49. Huge sweep. That's such a good sweep. That's such a good little momentum pop, even though it's only a few ticks, that it's like, get the fuck out. I mean, this fucking thing is, what, 6 ticks in my favor. That's really good for this fucked up environment. And look, I can't even get the fuck out right here. Now they're buying a lot. Now I'm in trouble. See how I have to keep chasing it up? Just those chasers like that are a real fucking problem. So, you gotta be quick about it. And I was, and then I'm like, fuck it, it's probably going to come all the way up. So I'm going to try to chase it to the backside to at least get the best, because you have edge on the limit. Limit orders have edge over market orders. That's a whole nother video for another time. I've talked about in other videos. Let's look at the final trade. So let's zoom in and just take a look at things so you know what is happening. NQ, she's breaking this bullshit range. She's above the value area high. I'm not really leaning too much on this red line as I would be in ES. I didn't really adjust it. However, she's above the value area high, which is good. This thing's so compressed on the higher time frame, it looks like it's going to go. ES, there's my 10-minute line. So we measured from here over. You can barely see this dotted line, but she's about to hit 10 minutes, and it is accepting. It's finally accepting above. Now, here we go down to Russell is actually doing something interesting here. Russell is now... the range is above us. I think Russell could be V-flushing this micro range, which I talk about in the top tick video. And I think it could come back up and potentially flush that and come all the way through. And it is bottom ticking as well. So it's V-flushing the micro range, but it's also bottom ticking this bigger range. So now we're going to finally hit with 12. So I go, this is over dumping. I don't want to hit this yet. Russell's really pushing low. So now we're looking at the auction vista for the NQ. We're going in it because I believe it could reclaim or slip back up. So I want to kind of take advantage of the reclaim slip effect. So we're in at 12, so we're going to... So what I'm doing is, like, I'm desizing risk immediately, because this needs to work immediately. So I'm trying to dump as much size off as possible. So 293 came in, so the sellers are aggressive. And they're not really... It's two-way volume. Sellers are digging in. So we take... And this is where I fucked up. I market order out there. And then they immediately fill that. I was going to cancel that and then keep the 8 on. But now we're down to 4. It just happened so quickly. I should have hit the cancel button. So, Russell's on the cusp of that low node section, which is good. It is the lowest node RTH, so she's going to be most likely mean reverting back up. So 102 lots, 21 lots, 88 lots. So buyers are really aggressive. They keep flashing large buy orders, so that's aggressive buying. Now they're not pushing. There you go. 100 lot 21, and sellers are not hitting, and it's very aggressive buying. Like, as I spam clear, I keep seeing these constantly large orders hitting, even though it's not just pressing up. So on a subconscious level, I know the buyers are in control. This is how you read order flow, guys. And this is called spam clearing. So there was 162, then 103, 103. They're bringing her back, 158. So I go, this is range top. So there's a micro range top up here. So I'm trying to get some out. Remember I told you earlier I want to take these micro ranges out. And then I'm going to leave 2 on for a fucking hold 'em. So I go, we're too late. So cancel it. So I want to take off at this range top. 2 left. We're going to fucking free roll them. So here's, I go potential V flush on Russell. Again on that micro. So this is more than a bottom tick here. Way more than a bottom tick here. This could be a V flush and this could just jam it and shoot us. And somebody in the last video says, I don't think Russell moves the others. It does. And this is a V flush, and this is an example of it doing it. So we're in the PVA here. This, if you want to know more about PVAs, it would be this video, that video. It's an EV11++, no top ticks, 2 mid rolls. But I'm being ultra conservative. I know we have top ticks available on ES or NQ, so let's go to NQ real quick on the chart to show you what that would be. So it would be this 06 even would be the top tick we're looking for. And we want to get out right when NQ is hitting that top tick, because it's a because if we have a curve here, it is a very, at the time, that is a very perfect bell curve with very perfect price action on a very high time frame. So a top tick could really jam back down. We're not going to fuck around and find out. So again, we're nowhere near 06s in Q. So we're holding it for a while. Let's fast forward it. And let's just get a lesson on the order flow while we watch it. So 142 by 12. I don't care about that box. Oh, I do, but we're looking diagonally. Russie's starting to V flush, it seems. Let's continue to go. So Russie is starting to V flush. And again, we're in the middle of a profile. Like, this is kind of a high note on 20s. It's a psych price because Russell's V flushing. That's going to get us off the psych price. If Russell wasn't V flushing, we may have problems. And NQ is just fighting gravity at this point. Yes, it's breaking out, but again, NQ is somewhat fighting gravity. I believe because Russell is mean reverting, that's shoving the others up. And this is why I say Russell does influence the other markets. There's other reasons why I'm not going to mention in this video. Well, if it does happen, if there's a fast sweep, it'll happen across all 3 markets at the same time. Not all the time, but it does. So therefore, the order flow is connected. So therefore, they are influenced by each other. So 163, 21, 30, but those are 1 lots creeping in. 121, 114, 180, 192. I'm not even clearing at this point. Now I'm just watching target. 06s, again, 06s for the top tick. So I'm scaling on a target on another market, because if I could be like, well, ES could be going at a high a day. Well, not necessarily. There's been plenty. Before I started trading correlations, watch these videos. I talk about how I discovered in the correlation video how like ES was failing to go to target. It's because markets like NQ top ticking on a higher time frame could fail ES, therefore ES may actually not hit high of day and fail to go further to target or whatever, because one of the other markets might be doing something. Actually, in those correlation videos, I figured out because Russell pivoted an area. Again, Russell did something to make ES fail going all the way to a target that would normally work. So go watch correlation 1 to understand the story of that. So we get flat right when that fucking poop, right when before that poops. Right here. Right, and we get out right as she top ticks. Watch, 6 evens. 6 evens. I'm getting out right as she hits that top tick. That's why you gotta watch the top tick video. I go, let her just peek right up there. So we get out right when it goes, right as it dumps. Meaner version. And she goes to 23. Not sure if it does hit 26s. Let's take a look. So, she does. This is where it dumped in. Because this was like right at the close too, that last trade. And she dumps in quite a bit, actually. Quite a bit. That I don't know. I don't remember if my entry was there. Let's take a look. So we're in at 18 right here. This fucker pulls all the way to 19. So it would have came back almost to our entry before it rotated. And we got out all because of the top tick on fucking NQ, even though it would have drifted up. So I hope you guys learned a lot from that. I know that's very, very advanced shit. However, there's too much basic shit on YouTube that this needs to exist. And I like talking about this shit. So go ahead and check out the full playlist if you haven't on the course. And see you guys in the next one.